There's a common misconception that when Prince Harry edited his books bare, that the 400 pages he took out were purely because of space, that it was just an editing decision or they weren't good enough to put in the final product. Well, that isn't strictly true. And in an interview with Bryony Gordon, he actually says why he took out the pages he did. And I'll just read to you what he says and then we'll have a little chat about it. Plus, I've got some comments from you guys because I did a post about it on the community. So he says in this interview, which I'll link down below, he says, my trip to Nepal in 2016 after the earthquake, that was a real moment for me. And that had to come out as there wasn't space for it. So I was really sad with some of the bits we had to take out. So that was like a space sort of consideration, right? And then there were other bits that also had to be taken out that I shared with JR, which I had told him were just for context, but there's absolutely no way I'm putting it in there. So they were in, even though they were just there for context, right? And then he says, but there are some things that have happened, especially between me and my brother, and to some extent between me and my father, that I just don't want the world to know, because I don't think they would ever forgive me. Now, I'm pretty sure, just reading between the lines and the little hint of the facts, and then there were other bits, because that implies they were in the book and they were taken out. And also, I can't understand in an interview that he knows is going to go global, why he would mention this, because there's an implicit threat in that. Now, I don't know if he meant it that way, but there is an implicit threat that there are things I know about my father and my brother that I wouldn't want the world to know. Now, that's a huge statement. That's a really big statement. I mean, how many people in the world would need or want to say that about their father and brother, that could actually say that there's things I wouldn't want the world to know, and if I told anyone, they would never forgive me? I mean, that implies something very serious, something quite momentous, doesn't it? And the fact that he mentioned it in the interview when he's talking in context of saying it was 800 pages and now it's down to 400 pages. So all these comments are made in the context of them discussing about editing the book. And that's why I think that if things go really pear-shaped for them some more, like we all know Spotify's now gone, the rumour is that Netflix will be next. They don't seem to have another lot of options on the table. I mean, certainly not Dior. So it could be that they're going to be looking for a quick buck. Now, it also depends. I don't know the size of Harry's trust fund that he's getting when he turns 40 either. I mean, maybe that will just smooth over everything and they won't have to do this. But there is also the thing that when he did the original contract with the publisher, that it was supposed to be a 3-book deal. So you would think at some point there has to be a second book coming, unless it's going to be in the form of just an updated version of Spare, maybe. I don't know. But if I was the royal family, particularly King Charles and also Prince William, I would be feeling a little bit vulnerable. Just the way he worded that and the fact that he was willing to put it on public record, I would be feeling quite wary and I would be feeling quite worried. So I put up a graphic in the community just saying I've got 400 more pages, and I was asking you if you thought that Harry would come out with another book, and there was a lot of comments. So I'm just going to share the top comments and your opinions, and I'm going to sort of riff with you while I read them out, because often you'll say something and it'll give me an idea, or I'll remember something I've always meant to tell you. So here we go. Tedder6171 says, I think he's so angry and vengeful about his lot in life that he's going to do another one. A lot of thumbs up on that one. So a lot of you agree that you think that he is. Okay. Patre162 says, not with Penguin, I don't believe. Now, this is interesting. This is a juicy comment. There were at least 2 cases of upper-level managers, executives associated with the book who got fired or stepped down immediately after its release. Also, unfortunately, I don't remember the source and he can't find it now, so we have to take it with a grain of salt. But he says he remembers seeing on the day of its release that an executive saying we won't be publishing another with him in the foreseeable future. That could have been a bluff, of course. But then again, why would the publisher bluff in that way? I mean, it's counterproductive, isn't it? So it's very interesting that what you're saying there. He goes on, but I'll go on because I want to fit in lots of comments. Artemis592 says, the only book he can do by himself is a colouring book. Oh, ouch. Maybe a colouring book with calligraphy underneath. Transplanted1599 says, I doubt it as the public is turning against him in general and associations with them cannot be good for the publisher. Well, that's what's starting to happen. They're getting a bit stinky and not very marketable. But I could be so wrong. So my basic answer is I have no idea. Bonus thought. 400 more pages were not deemed good enough for book 1. Well, I've sort of countered that with the opening of this video. Why would they be good enough for book 2? I'm learning to think like you, Shauna. Well, that's why I'm linking this article so you can look at it and read it and see what you think. Gabby Mayer, 8003, lots of numbers, said, Harry, please spare the rest of us. One of you had to say that. Good on you, Gabby. Cogsy says, if he wants to destroy any chance of reconciliation with royal family ever in favour of making a quick buck, well, he's done that before, hasn't he? Then yes, I'm not sure he cares enough about the royal family to choose them over money, I'm afraid. I don't know. Yes, I don't know either. I think I've got to say in all this, my feeling is that Harry is motivated by wanting to be heard and wanting to get recognition from his family and acknowledgement and apologies and everything. Whereas I think Meghan is more interested in the money. But that's just my perception of them. Danielle Oliver 1734 says, I don't think his original ghostwriter will work with him again. Plus, Harry has been humiliated and mocked throughout his promotional tour. It is his only chance of staying relevant, though, so who knows? Yes, it's interesting, Danielle, that you bring up about the ghostwriter because I'm pretty sure he felt pretty humiliated because he got such bad reviews, all the contradictions, all the different voices that were in the book, the huge gaps in the timeline. You know, it just really didn't get very good critical reviews. Now, if you're new to this channel, I've done a full podcast series on reviewing the Spare book in detail, and it's called Spare the Bits Others Missed. And I go through in detail and show all those contradictions and also the missing gaps in the timeline and go into depth about it if you're interested. That's there. It's a podcast playlist. Okay, so who we got next? It's me, Sam, 1967. Is that the year you were born, Sam? Well, he is contracted to write another, I believe. Therefore, he kind of has to write another. Yeah, that's what I think. I can only hope that if he does, he writes positively about his future and that of his family. I'd dearly love to see him being positive and happy just for once. Yeah, it would. It would help to put an end to it all, I think, if he brought out a book that was positive and happy. A lot of people wouldn't trust it because they just always think now that Harry and particularly Meghan have an agenda. So people don't trust happiness with them or positivity. They think, oh, yeah, what have you got coming out next? There's just that, real suspicious sort of view of them now. I suppose over time that could alter. Carolina Choa 7900 says, if there comes a point where he actually needs the money, he probably will. A lot of you think that it comes down to money. Minnie 6526 says, I wish Prince William would write one. The stories he could tell. Well, wouldn't that be fascinating? Wouldn't it be fascinating to hear William's side and then be able to compare the two books and the two stories? That, to me, that would be bliss. I would just lock myself in a room for a month and scour over William's book and then compare it to what Harry said and what others have said. I mean, it would just be brilliant. I would just be in heaven. But William just isn't the sort, is he? And I don't think William would do it to his kids. I think he's very mindful of the legacy he's leaving his children. Marilyn 3081 says, I don't think a publisher would okay it. I think the sales were inflated and bookstores are probably suffering. Well, it was discounted very, very quickly, wasn't it? I mean, it was just so cheap so quickly. And, you know, Audible basically giving it away for free if you signed up for a membership. And yeah, makes you wonder how, I mean, if he got over 20 million for his initial, you know, thing, advance, well, it makes you wonder how they could possibly make money. It does, doesn't it? Big figures, big figures. I'll just read a few more. Fairy Princess 5581 said, I don't know. What more can he say? He seems to have covered childhood to marriage and racism. What did he leave out? True. He's been exposed as a liar, and they both have been exposed as possible tax cheats and grifters, so I don't know what more he could write about. Yeah, true. And I'll finish off with a funny one. It Is What It Is says, he should write a sequel to The Bench. Oh, that's funny. I was going to say what he could call it, but then I just thought better of it. It rhymes with bench and it starts with a W. Anyway, I'll see you again very soon. Thanks a lot for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe, because there's lots of views and not as many subscribers, which it just helps me get my videos out there in YouTube land. And I'll see you again really soon. Bye.